I'm just going to do one more tweet that we're starting. All right, so I'm Chris Oster, and this is my book, Return to Enchantment. Isn't it lovely? Again, the artist who created the cover was Angie Marachka, who is brilliant with all kinds of self-publishing, indie publishing sort of stuff. She's been in the business for a long time, so I highly recommend her. So I have a few stories. So originally, this cover just had this woman. And it was amazing that she found this image, because I basically told her that in my mind on the cover, I had this image of a woman standing, walking into a dark forest, like looking over her shoulder, like, looking back at you, like, maybe you might want to follow me, sort of thing. And she did such a beautiful job with the image, but I just felt like this woman's like standing there alone. I don't know. It just felt weird that she was by herself. And around the same time, I went and had lunch with my friend, Susan Reiner, who works for a wolf sanctuary. And as I was talking to her, I was like, oh my gosh, I need to put a wolf on the cover next to her. She needs an ally, and her ally is the wolf. So, so you could see the beautiful wolf that she added. That was the second draft of the cover. So there's the lovely lady and her ally. So the other bit of story interest, and why I started late today, was I went to a concert last night. It was the Scotty Medlock Robbie Krieger Golf Invitational, and it's a celebrity golf tournament to benefit St. Jude's Children's Hospital, which I'm sure you could still donate if you want to, but it's like an all-day affair. And it's been going on, I think, for like 8 years. It's been going on for a while, and my dad, who was the drummer for Chicago, usually plays. So I got to see him play, and it was really sweet. He sounded great, as always. And let's see, Jack Black got up and sang with Robbie Krieger. It was pretty fun. And Sherry Curry, remember the Runaways? She did the song Cherry Bomb. And Berlin played too, Terry Nunn from Berlin. I would say, I really, like I said, I really enjoyed seeing my dad play. And then there's a bass player named Phil Chen that was really great. And he's a Chinese man from Jamaica. So, and it's from his bio, it looks like he's lived all over the world, and he was a session player for the guys in the Doors, Robbie Krieger and Ray Manzarek. And he also played with Rod Stewart and another famous person. I'll have to look it up later, but he was fantastic. It was really fun. And kind of the standout for me, which we could kind of bring this into business and marketing, is that a lot of the songs that they played were classic songs, like classic songs by the Doors, classic songs by Jimi Hendrix. I think someone was doing some Elvis. And the people that were simply imitating the original artist's version, it just would fall short. Whereas if they put their own spin on it and just were authentically themselves and really just getting into playing the song and being true to it and being true to the art, it was so much more powerful and just so much better. So again, when it comes to marketing and branding, we can look at other people and learn from how they're doing things, and we can take inspiration from them. But again, if you imitate anything, you're going to always fall short of what that imitation was. So always being yourself is the best avenue to take in any sort of marketing. With that, our topic today is honoring the multiplicity of yourself. So the many are the one. one of the things that a lot of marketers say that I think is really a half truth is they say you have to be consistent to be successful. You have to be consistent. So, you know, in my mind, any Joe Blow can be consistent, right? But, you know, I think we should take it further. I think we should be consistently, like, mind-blowingly great. Whatever it is that you do, instead of looking at it as like, I have to be the same, or I have to, make sure I do this every Tuesday, or do this or do that, that it's not really about the doing. It's about consistently showing up as your most awesome self and showing up as the most creative, consistently being more generous, consistently being more creative, consistently being more loving. Whatever it is that you do best, push it. And so being consistent doesn't necessarily help if you're consistently just doing what you think is expected. So this chapter, I hope, will just kind of free you up from that sense of being confined to one image or to one, what's another way to say this? We're going to talk about personas. So there's so many ways to use personas in your branding. You could use them as avatars, as in, if you really feel like there's a particular type of customer that you would rather work with, you can do some imagining around who that person is and get into detail. So this kind of takes it a little bit further than that. So kind of looking at your own inner personas and allowing them to come out spontaneously and just to see who's there. And then there's a fun exercise that I have in this chapter where you take one of those personas and you run your business as if you're that persona. So it can be really funny. So I'm going to run you through that exercise in a little bit, but we're going to talk first about some amazing archetypal resonances around memory and memoir. So the goddess of memory in Greek mythology is Mnemosyne, and Mnemosyne is the mother of the 9 muses. So it kind of it's always interesting if you look at the lineage of a god or goddess, especially in the Greek pantheon, you really can see more about their meaning and what domain they rule over. And I think we think of memory in the modern, days as, having something rote, like I'm going to memorize this number, I'm going to memorize this poetry, I'm going to memorize this talk, let's say. Whereas the Greeks thought of memory as a very creative making. So to them, memory was not just rote, it was recreating the past in the now, because you're remembering the past from your present perspective. So you have to recreate it. You can't replay it. It's recreated every time. So memory making and remembering was a creative faculty, was a creative endeavor in the Greek psyche, in the Greek mind. So, we talked a bit, not the second lab, but the first one, about how, essentially we are the brand, even if you are a company, or, if you're an expert or a company with a proprietary product or software. This brand consists of reflected and refracted pieces of yourself. So what I mean by that is reflection, reflectiveness, and then refraction to me is like when the sun hits like a wave on the ocean, and then everything, the light just splinters out into all these different colors. So the refracted light, I think, is more similar to what I'm talking about, although reflection is also a part of this too, because to dive into memoir, you do need to reflect, right? You need to sit back and think about the past, reflect on it, and then when that light is hit and it refracts, then you see all the different aspects, like this beautiful spectrum. So speaking of waves of the ocean, we're going to be diving underneath your brand and seeing who are the personas that live there, and they live within you. And again, I like to think of our brand and our businesses as sovereign, autonomous energies that have a life of their own. It's not just us always directing it. Again, that's a very ego-based way of approaching life, that you're in control of everything. So this is like kind of stepping back and seeing what's there and allowing yourself to be moved by it, and then to create from that place. Let's see. So I'm going to read this part of the book to you. It's about Mnemosyne, whose name is kind of hard to pronounce. Mnemosyne, the personification of memory and the mother of the 9 muses, is credited with inventing language. Remembering is a creative, imaginative activity. The facts we remember are completely subjective. Ask one of your siblings about a profound or traumatic family moment you shared, and I can guarantee you'll each have a different story to tell. Memory and memoir are the flowing streams from which inspiration is born. Who hasn't sat next to a babbling brook and heard the voices of the 9 muses, or the birds singing, lulling us back to a time of innocence, grace, and sweetness? Wishing wells and holy springs are the homes of elementals, fays, and guardian angels. If you've been to Celtic countries and seen pieces of cloth and ribbon tied to trees next to sacred springs and wells, you've seen the work of Mnemosyne. Think of goddess memory in this deeper, more complex way, instead of as simple memorization by rote. The number of muses is significant as well. 9 is a cosmic number related to the crone, hermit, or mystical sage. It also represents the number of months that it takes to gestate a child in the womb. The 9 muses are tributaries that flow from the great river, Mother Mnemosyne. So each of the muses represents a different aspect of preserving, embodying, and expressing a memory. There's Calliope, who's epic poetry. There's Clio, who is history. There's Erato, who is love poetry. There's Euterpe, which is music. Melpomene is tragedy. Polyhymnia are hymns. Terpsichore is dance. Thalia is comedy. And Urania is astronomy. So again, they're preserving, embodying, and expressing memory. Mnemosyne memory itself is likened to the water element. In fact, initiates of the Orphic mysteries were directed to drink from a pool of water that was named Mnemosyne, rather than her sister river that was right alongside her named Lethe, and Lethe means forgetfulness. Water reflects, and clear or murky can be seen through. Water refracts light like a mirror. When the sun hits the waves of the ocean, its light shatters into sparkling pieces, displaying unity and diversity. Like a mirror, as you work with your brand in this chapter, you'll begin to see how it connects to both your memories of the past and its future incarnation. Your brand reaches backwards, and at the same time, it stretches out in front of you, directing the course of your business. Memoir is similar. It expresses this idea of telos, a view of the future within the past and the past within the future. We can enter another's story through a shard of time, a splinter of their life. That minuscule piece tells us as much as if we had read their whole biography in chronological order. One moment can define a whole life experience. And because we often don't see anything. So we have Robbie. Hi, Robbie, and Robin. Hi, Robin. And looks like Rusty might be here still. And Sean is here. Hey, guys. Okay. All right. So I have like 15 more minutes. So I think what I'd like to do is walk you through one of the exercises in the book. And if you do have questions, yeah, just go ahead and type them in at any time, and I'll get back to answering them. So there's a really fun exercise on page 66. This is chapter 2, and it's called Unmask and Personify the Faces of Your Brand. And kind of how I did this exercise is, and how I conceived each chapter of the book is doing or working on the chapter, taking like 7 days at least to do one chapter. Like some people like to read through a book, and then that's great, read through it. But then if you like find, wow, this kind of intrigues me, then spend some time there. And so what I basically ask is that as you work through this chapter for the week, that you do this exercise 7 times, so you come up with 7 different personas. So I wanted to tell you about the 7 figures that came forward for me when I did the exercise, and I wrote about them in this book. But they're all so different, and some of them are totally like not related to me at all and are such different personas, so it's funny. Okay, so the first figure that came for me was, I'll call her beautiful, elegant young woman. Saucy, sassy pants personality, singer of a rock band, wants me to have a mermaid rock band and be in the front. She likes being in the spotlight way more than I do. I do like being in the spotlight, but as far as singing in the spotlight, not happening. The second figure was a naked mermaid named Sandrine, who is an erotica writer who was once a stripper. She's a proud nymphomaniac. And I'm writing actually a novel with a character named Sandrine, and she's writing her own novel. She's pretty cool. The third persona was a sword-wielding warrior woman, very much like the goddess Freya from the Nordic mythology. She wants to save other women and girls and keep them from being taken advantage of. She smells bullshit a mile away, totally speaks her mind, no filters, and tells it like it is. Then there was mystical healer woman who is very motherly and exudes wisdom. She said she's been with me for thousands of years. She's a solitary priestess and needs lots of quiet time. I'd say that this persona is the one that I feel like I really resonate with the most right now. So number 5 was a traveling minstrel storyteller gypsy woman. She keeps small daggers in the garters on her thighs. She's a good gambler and loves games, especially when money is on the line. Number 6 persona was a dolphin, and he guides me to an underwater Atlantean world inside of a glistening bubble so I can breathe. And the 7th that came through was a wanderer man, a maverick who travels alone but pines for romance in his life. dark skin, long black hair, reminds me of the characters from Last of the Mohicans, you know, very sexy, like super, you know, just very defined face. And he's a great fighter who comes to the defense of any underdog and loves listening to his friends' stories. So, you know, if you look at all those characters that came forward, and these are all like a cast of characters living inside me. And of course, there's, you know, there's millions and millions within us, right? It's not just 7, but I picked 7 as just a number to start with. So I'm going to give you guys, if you want to grab a piece of paper and a pencil, because after you do this kind of meditative exercise, you're probably going to want to take notes so you can remember all the details about this persona that comes up for you. So let me, yeah, I'll give you some time to go ahead and do that. And Jill Cruz joined. Hi, Jill. And I think I don't see anybody else new. And Doublehead Music said, I like that. Thinking of your idea as its own spirit entity, thought-provoking. Thanks. And Doublehead Music, Sean says, I'm still blown away by the profoundness of that idea that each song I write is a spirit, something created, something that needs to be nurtured to fruition. Each idea I birth should be treated with the respect of a living creature. Love that. Yeah, absolutely. All right. Jill Cruz said, whoa, to Doublehead Musics. Yeah, he gets it. All right. So for now, it might be hard for you. I don't know where you're at, but if you can, close your eyes and imagine that there is a hall with 7 mirrors. Each mirror is decorated differently. Some are ornate and some plain, with every variation in between. So I want you to choose just one mirror that appeals to you and stand in front of it. And just, I want you to just look at your own eyes in the mirror and wait to see if the reflection transforms into a new face. And if it doesn't, you might want to ask, you know, who wants to come forward in this mirror to speak with me? So as you're standing in front of this mirror and you're seeing a reflection of you, but with a new face, a different voice, a different name, you know, have a dialogue, you know. And again, it's not about interrogating the being in the mirror. It's just like talking to a friend, having a conversation, like who are you and what's going on? What do you want in life or whatever? So I'm going to give you some time to be in this space. So begin to wrap it up. Say farewell to this being in the mirror, this aspect of yourself, and know that you can contact them again anytime you wish. And if you can, spend like about a minute to 2 minutes now writing down what your being was like, what your experience was with them. You know how I talked about the 7 beings in the mirrors that I met. Talk about what they look like, what their mannerisms are like, what do they want to talk about, what do they do for a living, what's their passion. And I know this was kind of a short period to do that. So again, you could always dive back in once the blab is over and really spend more time getting to know this being. Awesome. Okay. So that is an exercise that, you could do all this week. You could even come back to this blab and fast forward the recording to the point. And, maybe meet one new persona per day and just kind of see, who's in there. There's also a really beautiful meditation with Yemaya, who is the ocean mother, where I'm talking about dream oracles. And there's like just a brief thing about dream and oracle in this section of the book, and a meditation vision journey to visit Yemaya. And I'm also audio recording all of the meditations in the book, so you all can get on that, because I know sometimes it's hard to do a meditation if you're just trying to read it from a book rather than listening. So the second part of this mirror is an exploration called acting as if. So you become Madonna, Angelina, Meryl Streep, Jack Black, whoever it is, for a day. So you spend one day pretending to be one of the characters you met in the mirror meditation. Dress the part and order coffee or breakfast as him or her. Let that persona answer your phone and emails. Write a newsletter or blog post. And just, it's kind of just more for fun. But I think it can be very illuminating. And again, when we talk again about consistency, about this whole advice that they give marketers to be consistent, always be the same, always do this, always do that. And again, my sense is it's better to be consistently awesome, consistently giving more of yourself, consistently more generous, giving more love. And part of this consistency, I think, if you consistently surprise people, give them something to keep coming back to, then being the same exact persona all the time can be kind of dull. And it's almost like you could even think of it as like being in moods. Like, you know, there's so many aspects of yourself in so many different moods. And, you know, there's varying levels. There are some people that are super mercurial and their moods will just change every 5 minutes. And that's fine. And not everybody's like that. But what I like about this exercise, the acting as if, is, let's say I decide to choose, and I've done this exercise. I've done I've been Sandrine, and actually another character named Bravura. And Bravura she likes to give marketing advice, but in the style of, you know, Sex and the City. Do you remember Samantha from Sex and the City? She's the total, like, not into commitment until like the very last episodes, but she's kind of like the most sexually adventurous, right? So anyways, it's a really fun blog post. I'm going to look for it and post the link. But as an exercise, you could do a blog post written from the perspective of a persona that you feel like is really interesting to you. And there's other people that do this online and have found really good results. They get more signups, more people are interested in what they're doing, because it's not, again, not the same old run-of-the-mill, blah-de-blah, here I am, I'm going to talk to you about this offer. And, you know, I think there's so many more ways to spice up your brand and get more of the spotlight on it in a fun, kind of irreverent way. Okay, so anyways, the post I'm talking about is it's called Stop Shoulding All Over Yourself, as in shoulding. I think it's pretty fun. So I'm going to put it here. All right, so let's see some comments here. We've got one from Doublehead. Stone slab with a random piece of obsidian where the rock melted. Dragon named Balthasar came. He told me that his fire was to be the breath of my voice, burning away the shields, blocking vulnerability, and burning away shame of others. Can I get a whoa? Yeah, that's awesome. That's huge. That's awesome, Sean. Yeah, if you want to share with me or with the rest of us a persona that came up for you during this time, definitely type it in. And Jill Cruz says, shoulding, laugh out loud. I'm glad you like that. So yeah, sometimes having a sense of humor, shocking, you know, maybe a little bit, isn't such a bad thing. So I think I'm going to wrap it up. But again, you know, this chat is here. You could, again, add your experience. I'd love to read about it and, you know, comment on it. But here again is my book, Return to Enchantment. And I'll be back next Tuesday, same time. And we'll be talking about pleasuring yourself to success. So it's on chapter 4. And chapter 4 is the waters of Aphrodite. So how pleasure and sensuality can improve your business, your productivity, and your branding, and help other people experience your branding in a more sensual way. So I'll wrap it up, but have an amazing week, everybody, and hope to see you next week. Thanks.